Hey y'all. I'm so excited about being with y'all today. Okay, anyway, it's Tuesday, so we are doing a very quick teacher talk. For those of you who don't know me, first of all, you need to follow me on all platforms _@ Sydney G. I am about to get into my educator bag for the people because I feel like we just kind of need some encouragement. I feel like, so many things are happening in the classroom space that we have to intentionally work together to keep each other locked in. So the purpose of this video is really simple. I just want to give a little something for our BTs, give a little something for our old heads, and just kind of, get everybody in the mindset for success for the new school year that's coming up. One of the things I think is super disrespectful is when Target and Walmart get out here in like July and start putting out school supplies. Like, that be free. Anyway, so it's no longer a figment of our imagination, y'all. It is real life. We are up and kicking. So real quick, I'm going to start off with something for our new teachers, new teacher corner. I want to hop into some of these myths, okay? I need to be likable for student success. And maybe an old head needs to hear this. Your job is not to create friends. Working in the classroom is not Facebook, y'all. Our job is to teach. It is our job to see where students are having some educational gaps. It's our job to see where they can be empowered. It's our job to see how they can, find some additional strength and support, and then push them forward to create better outcomes for their families. That's literally our job. Now, it is a bonus when the children do like us, but what happens when we're, especially as new teachers, when we get too comfortable with our children liking us, with our students liking us, we sometimes have a hard time enforcing the expectations. So you don't want to do anything that puts you in a position to where your authority is questioned. Okay. So the other thing here, myth number 2, is that I can and need to save my students. Baby, it is not your job to save anyone. We are getting rid of the Superman cape. We are getting rid of our savior complexes all 2022-2023 school year. We're not doing that, y'all. We are not doing that, okay? So, number 1, it is not your job to save your students. It is your job, again, to teach them, to explain to them, what it looks like to be a successful human being, to explain to them what society expects from them, to prepare them for life, yes. But changing their household backgrounds, all that, y'all, that's not our job. If you feel like you need to do that and that's something that's pulling on you, you can do a couple of things. You can reach out to your school social worker. You can reach out to your school counselor. More importantly, you can go get your own degree in counseling and social work and make a difference that way, open up a nonprofit. But one of the things I don't want you to get lost in is this overwhelming feeling that, everything you do has to be set up with the goal of saving children. That's not realistic. It's also not our job. Myth number 3. I can trust my students with. So there's gonna come a place in the school year where you're like, no, my kids know exactly what I'm looking for. They know my expectations and blah blah blah. And this is true. Like once you train students on how to behave in your classroom, they will perform for the most part at the level that you expect them to. But there's always a time and there's always a student that is going to try you. So you want to make sure that you set yourself up for extreme success. So what I mean by that, case in point, there have been times where I have trusted students. I went down the hallway to go check on another teammate. Okay. Left the kids unattended. Boop. Just like that. Something popped off in the classroom, nothing crazy. But when I came back, if it would have gone another way, that would have been me. That would have been on Miss Carol. That would have been up to Miss Carol to figure out what was going on. I don't like them kind of situations. That's not my ministry. Okay. The other thing is that I've also seen where, teachers have conversations with students because they're like, I really just want you to see how this was my life story and I'm pouring into you, I'm mentoring you, I'm coaching you to the students, and this happens and information that they share gets out. And then you are then held responsible for whatever that conversation was, or gets back to the parent. Just be mindful. Everything last year was the school year that taught me, make the assumption that everything that happens in your classroom is going to be reported. And when it's reported, how does that make you look? And depending on who's reported to, it's going to change this conversation too, right? So you just want to make sure that you are representing yourself well. Or people say, like, I thought I could trust my students with being vulnerable with them. And then students have done like crazy things. So you just want to protect yourself. Be honest with yourself. Y'all, students are children, no matter their age, no matter their experiences, no matter how well they show up and perform in class, they are still children. Okay. So that's not the place. All right. Now moving into my old head. So here's the truth of the matter. And I'm gonna just go here, really. I'm gonna just slide here. Times have changed. This is a really tough talk for me as an educator. This is a really tough talk. And this year I'll be teaching college students. I won't be teaching K-12, but just realizing that times have changed, y'all. Like, you can no longer get away without having a successful and complete Canvas page. You can no longer get away with not being in touch with parents. The first thing, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, but you need to build these relationships with parents because we're in a teacher shortage. And although your school might be fully staffed, if the district cannot staff enough teachers throughout the district, what's going to happen is folks going to be at home. So how do we make sure that student learning loss is kind of measured better or better handled than it was during the onset of the pandemic? We build relationships with our kids and their parents. Okay. So y'all, I know you're like, I don't want to do this and I don't want to do that and bop bop shua. But honestly, this is where the goal is. Times have changed. You need to figure out what mindset you need to change. If you're getting a new principal, if you're getting a new co-teacher, if you're getting a new CF, whatever the case may be, if you're getting a new instructional coach, times have changed. And the reality of it is that if we could do it all on our own without additional support, then we would do that, right? But that's not real. So we got to get away from these old mindsets of, when I go in my room and close my door, that's my classroom, blah, 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 blah. Yo, follow the system. Do what you're supposed to do. Make your job easy. Make your job easy. The other thing, though, down here, and this is real quick, I really am challenging you all. I'm going to do it next week once I get settled into my office and finish decorating and all that stuff, is to revisit my why. Why am I doing the things that I am doing? Why did I decide that I wanted to stay in education? Why am I showing up in this way? What is motivating me? And am I being honest with myself about my why? Why am I even in the classroom? What even put me in this situation? Which decisions did I make that locked me into this career, this profession? Okay. For me, that kind of grounds me, that kind of gets me back on track. It kind of puts me in perspective of where I'm supposed to be. And it helps me when things get difficult in a class change, when things get difficult in a meeting, when things get difficult while I'm planning or preparing a lesson. Real talk. All right, now, child, this one right here is simple. And I know a lot of folks are like, oh my gosh, like, this is so baby. This is so simple. It is super simple, y'all. But the truth of the matter is that we have a lot more power over how things play out when we actually predict the obstacles and then plan accordingly, especially if this is not your first time in your school. Come on. Especially if this is not your first time in the classroom. You know where you struggled last year. You know where you needed to grow last year. You know the things that are weighing on you. You know how your schedule is constantly changing. Be honest with yourself. Girl, what do you need to work on? Last year, I was so lax in the classroom. Like, my classroom management style was at its lowest that it has ever been in my entire career. It was still pretty rigorous for the caliber of students that I was teaching in that setting, but I really let kids kind of get away with a lot of things. And so by the middle of the year, I had to kind of recoup. I had to kind of recap because I had taken on that role. And this is how I can tell you all that I've said of, like Auntie Sydney or Auntie Sydney. And I kind of was like, making myself kind of just flexible. We're not doing that this year. So I'm predicting the obstacles because these are college students. So I really can't be, I can't be too loose. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You got to know your limits. You got to know what's working for you and what's not. Predict the obstacle and then plan accordingly. So one of my goals for this year is to make sure that I'm consistent with expectations in classroom management. So every day before class, every time before I get ready to teach a class, I'm going to make sure that I go over my expectations for myself. That's what I'm doing for me, for Sydney. That's what Sydney is doing. Okay. And then, y'all, I want to get over into just some practices that I think are really going to be helpful to you as you're preparing for the new school year. But before I do that, y'all, go ahead and follow me real quick. Go ahead and like this video, share this video, because I feel like we got to build up this community. I want to make sure that we're all supported. I want to make sure that, people know that there is encouragement, there is help, there is support out there. We as educators are all on the same page. We all in this thing together. Okay? Big purr. I want to know which of these points so far has spoken to you. You could drop it in the comments. You can DM me however way you want to, but I just want to know what's kind of speaking to you. Okay? So these are classroom best practices that I think are really important. And the first one is call the parents now. And remember, like I said, we don't know what's going to happen with the way that our world is set up. We don't know how things are going to go. But if you go ahead and prepare now by building relationships with parents and with students, it's going to set you up. First of all, it's going to set you apart because other teachers are just not going to waste the time to do this. But it is also going to set you apart with that parent, because if other teachers have not called that parent is like, oh shoot, let me find out what you call it, little John, whatever his name is, has a teacher that actually cares enough to call me to invite me to open house. One thing that we know is that whatever your initial contact with me, your initial conversation with me always sets the tone for how we move forward. So use this as an opportunity to set the pace at a positive rate. So whenever you need this parent, whenever you need community, or whatever the case may be, you have that connection, and your first contact, your first conversation is not something that's negative. It's community and camaraderie built within that adult. The other thing I'm going to say, y'all, is repeat and rehearse expectations. When I was teaching middle school, which was like yesterday, one of the best things that worked for me was literally walking students around the building. I was able to give them a tour of the school just in case they didn't know. But I was also able to show with them and model for them how I expected them to come out of the auditorium, how I expected for them to come out of the cafeteria, how I expected for them to walk in a hallway with me, how I expected them to leave and enter my classroom, and what would be there. One thing that I didn't put on here today, but you always want to have a starter with instructions on your board. You can't afford to, first of all, lose instructional time, but second of all, lose structure. Always, always, always have something laid out. Always have something laid out. Always. And my little baby nugget for you guys, every week I'm going to try to give you guys not every week. Every time I do a Teacher Tuesday talk, I want to make sure that I give you a restorative practice that's extremely effective. And I am challenging you to start off the school year implementing circles. I'm going to do a training on this, but ultimately, allowing students and yourself to sit in a circle, to look at each other, to give everyone an opportunity to speak is so powerful. I've done this with high school students, middle school students, and elementary school students. And it has really just kind of set the pace of my classroom as I'm operating and maneuvering conversations in general. And I'm even able to tie circles into Socratic seminars and things of that nature. So, what is a circle? You actually take the chairs, take the desk, whatever it is, you sit in a circle and you have some pre-written prompts. It could be simple things like, yo, what's your favorite color? If you had a superpower, what would it be? Blah, 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 blah. And ask students and then allow each child to go around and share their information, to share their responses, and go from there. And it just allows everyone to get used to having a speaking place. It opens up the door for clean community. And what I mean by that is a community space in which everyone knows that they are heard and everyone knows that they do have a part. No one is speaking over anyone. It's literally that person speaking. I also, it's probably the group therapist in me that when people are finished sharing, I say thank you for sharing because it's important that people know that we value what they say. So it's just a baby restorative practice. And that's all I have for you guys today. So of course, I'm just gonna remind you, I'm gonna give you a baby scripture to keep you encouraged because what can you do if you are not encouraged in the Lord as you enter into this new school year? And it says, finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggles is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of darkness, of the dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. You are not alone this school year. I am praying for you. I'm cheering for you all. I know that this is going to be a different year. It is. And we're going to face different kinds of obstacles, but we're also going to have great victories. You're just going to have to be down with doing the work. So I am, praying for you all. I pray that the hand of God is with you as you're going to your professional developments. I pray that you are encouraged. I plead the blood of Jesus over your school, over your classroom, that you are safe and protected and no hurt, harm, or danger comes upon you or comes upon your students. In Jesus Christ's name, I pray. And y'all make sure y'all follow me or whatever. And I can't wait to see y'all for our next teacher talk. Bye.